Neo. The mass grave at Gurb. In early 1939, at the height of the Spanish Civil War, Republican soldiers tried to prevent Franco's troops from gaining more ground by advancing along the north of the city of Vic. Several soldiers died in the battle and were buried by a local farmer in a mass grave in the nearby town of Gurb. 4 of the soldiers had been born in the town of Gurb, some 90 kilometers to the south of Vic. For many years now, the families have requested that the remains of their sons be returned to them, as a way to keep their memory alive. The mass grave in Gurb was chosen by the Catalan government as a pilot program, with which to establish a protocol for future exhumations which will be carried out under a new law on mass graves. Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, under the supervision of Assumpció Malgosa, professor of physical anthropology, coordinates all the stages of recovery and identification of the remains found in the mass grave in Gurb. A total of more than 30 researchers are participating in the project and come from different Catalan institutes, including Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, the Pompeu Fabra University, the University of Barcelona, and the Institute of Legal Medicine of Catalonia.
For this purpose, an interdisciplinary team was organized to accomplish different steps to obtain the preliminary data like historical background or ante-mortem information. The recovery of the skeletons from the grave is the excavation and after the analysis in the laboratory.
The first stage of the project, which consisted in excavating and exhuming the remains, was carried out by 5 anthropologists, 4 archaeologists, and 2 forensics. As the exhumation progressed, researchers discovered that the earth had not been dug up to make a grave. Instead, a natural hole in the ground was used. The bodies were finally found 1.5 meters below the surface. They had been placed one on top of the other, some of them face down. The remains of 13 bodies were found, and researchers were able to perform the first physical analyses at the site and establish hypotheses on the possible causes of death. The mass grave also contained traces of projectiles and several types of ammunition, such as bullet packs, which are thought to have been part of the soldiers' war equipment. Other objects found were shoes, pencils, mines, buttons, safety pins, and spoons. A glass bottle with a message inside was found behind the tombstone. The remains were transferred to the university's biological anthropology lab, where the next stage in identifying the remains will now take place. The analyses will provide information on the age and height of the bodies, and may even reveal distinctive traits of the 4 soldiers from Gurb who are thought to have been buried there. Finally, identification analyses will be carried out to determine the identities of the bodies. Given the bad state in which the facial craniums are, researchers consider that it will be very difficult to carry out comparative studies with photographs of the victims. In this case, DNA analyses could prove decisive in identifying the remains of these soldiers, while it would also give their families the chance to offer them a final, decent resting place in the cemetery of Gurb.